Hey, welcome to Gatecrashers. This episode is actually hosted by Z. You may know Z from their work on the website with their reviews of Absolute Batman and, pretty much all things Batman and a lot of other topics, but they're one of our best writers and soon to be one of our best interviewers. This is their first audio podcast. I just wanted to record a quick intro just to mention who they are talking with. They are talking with Chip Zdarsky today about Captain America, Batman, and all things in between, including Chip's indie work and all that good stuff. So, I hope you enjoy. Thanks.
All right, great. Well, thank you for being here. This is my first time doing an audio podcast.
Oh, wow.
So that's cool. And it's interesting because the first time I did an interview of any kind, it was with the Hive Mind, who did the other previous Captain America run. So it's cool that Captain America runs. Yeah.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Yeah. All right. So I guess I'll get started with a pretty easy one.
Okay, good.
What is your favorite sandwich? What is Captain America's favorite sandwich? And from White House Robot Romance, what does Chef Nine love to cook? And does Chef Nine have a favorite sandwich?
Ooh, so many sandwiches. Okay, so first of all, this is a weird one, but my favorite sandwich is a sandwich I had as a teenager. There used to be a sandwich shop that me and my buddies would hang out at, and they would do a turkey sandwich, which was just amazing. It was just turkey with a bit of stuffing on it and just like really thick slices. But I'm vegetarian now, so I don't. So it's weird that that's my favorite sandwich, but even still, I think about that sandwich at least once a week. Captain America, oof, that's a tough one. For some reason, I automatically go to a BLT because BLT just sounds American.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's three letters like USA, BLT, USA.
It's funny you mentioned that actually because, I talked to my girlfriend about everything. I was talking to them about like, what do you think is Captain America's favorite sandwich? And then they asked me, what do I think it is? And I said it was a BLT. So I'm glad we're on the same page.
Chef Nine. It's tricky because Chef Nine cooks for the president. And so Chef Nine does not eat food. So for Chef Nine, it's basically whatever the president wants. But there's a conflict there because the president wants the sandwiches that aren't good for him. Whereas the White House physician has told Chef Nine to stop doing that. So it's a real conflict there. So, the president, it might be BLT again because the bacon is bad for him, but he wants it. And Chef Nine is like maybe a Havarti with lettuce and tomato.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. All right. Well, I guess to go from there, we can start with White House Robot Romance and then go to the other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, first things first, when you initially got announced to join DSTLRY, you said it's a 4-series deal. Time Waits was the first one.
Yep.
White House Robot Romance is the second one. And both of them are very science fiction. So does that mean the other two are also in that vein? Or are you doing something different?
No, I mean, I don't want to give too much away. The third one is has no science fiction in it. Fourth one's kind of to be determined. And it's funny, like even with the science fiction stuff, it's like I don't lean too much into the sci-fi aspect of it all because I'm not really a science guy and I don't read a lot of science fiction. All the books I read tend to have no real genre kind of attached to it. I didn't even think about that, so thanks for pointing it out.
Oh, my internet died for a little bit. Could you repeat that? Sorry.
Which part?
As after I asked you the question, it just died.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny because so with the sci-fi stuff, I tend to not read a lot of sci-fi, or any really. So I never really think about my work as being sci-fi. It's just sometimes those weird little conceits kind of help me come up with a story.
Yeah.
I can say that the third DSTLRY book is not sci-fi. There's no real kind of genre attached to it. There's a bit of a mystery, I think, involved and a murder. So I guess that makes it a murder mystery. But and I can't really say anything about the fourth one yet. I'm still kind of figuring that one out. But
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, of course. So, what is it like? Because you've done the indie stuff for a while, and you even did like
Yeah.
newspaper strips, and then you've
Yeah.
obviously done like the superhero, like the big two stuff. So,
Mhm.
is it different to be doing stuff at Distillery compared to your other creator-owned stuff?
Um, Not really. I mean, the format is different, so I think about the page a little bit differently. Like, um, I don't feel quite as bad when I do a 7-panel page as I would on a standard
Yeah.
comic. Um, I really love the format and I love the physical copies of it. Like a lot of times when I get the comics back from the publishers, I'll look at them just to make sure, they turned out and that's fine. But the distillery books, when they show up, I kind of get lost in the pages because I think it's just such a beautiful, larger canvas. And so the books just physically look a lot better. The other thing about distillery is the fact that they're 45-page issues. Um, Really kind of lets me breathe a bit more when I'm writing because I've really got used to the 22 page Marvel DC titles
Yeah.
that it becomes very much a rhythm. Like I kind of know by page 5 I have to have certain things happen, and you got the cliffhanger at the end, and there has to be a fight scene because it's a superhero book. But with the distillery books, it's like, oh, 45 pages, you can actually have characters talk and like get to know them a bit more as you're writing the story, which is just really been great. And also the fact that they're 3-issue minis um, really gives me a good sense of beginning, middle, and end. Like there's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3,
Yeah.
and that's a really nice format to write in because you don't often get that when you're doing Marvel or DC stuff. And
Yeah.
even on my own kind of image books or comicsology, it's like you're always kind of thinking like, well, is this gonna be 6 issues or 12? Like how financially, how long can you do it for? Does the story need it? Like with the distillery, it's very clear up front exactly how long your book's gonna be.
Right. Yeah. I mean, as a reader, I think reading Distillery stuff is so much nicer than the other stuff because I'm always
Hmm.
afraid when I'm like going through my other singles of like, oh, if my hand's a little sweaty, the paint's gonna or the inks are gonna rub off. If I'm a little rough
Yeah,
with it,
yeah,
it's gonna tear. Distillery is like it's solid and it feels
yeah,
good on the hand, and
yeah,
I love
yeah.
that a
They're
lot.
quite nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
cool.
yeah. So, what's it like working with Rachel Stott? I believe it's your first time working together.
It's our third.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Fourth. Oh my God, it's our fourth. Technically fourth. The first thing we did, she actually she drew a one shot for Sex Criminals
Right.
back in the day that Matt wrote, but I was involved kind of in every step, so it felt like we worked together. And then we did a short, a Spider-Man short for Marvel for a book
Mhm.
together, which is a ton of fun. And then she did the Domain, which is my spin-off of Public
Oh,
Domain,
right,
like the book
yeah.
and image. And so I mean, she's one of my favorite people, just full stop. Like she's just
Hmm.
great, and she's so talented. Like every character just looks awesome on the
Yeah.
page. Like she's got such a great sense for facial expressions and gesture. Yeah, she's awesome. So actually, yeah, getting to see her work larger in this format with and it's her first time being colored by Tamra Bonvillain, and the pages are beautiful. So yeah, I quite love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the pages right now from White House Robot Romance, and I love how even though these are robots, there's so much personality in
Hmm.
every panel. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's kind of, it kind of scared me a little bit when she was doing the designs because the designs don't really have any facial features. I was like, well, how is she gonna make them emote? But of course she was able to do it. Like she's
Yeah.
Rachel. She's great.
So, what's the beating heart for this book? I try to keep away from like press releases and stuff. I like to be
Yeah,
surprised by books, especially indie stuff. So,
yeah.
what's the beating heart for White House Robot Romance? Like, where is your engine being powered from?
I mean, it was kind of my desire just to do a romance story.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of manga because I have a podcast called Manga Splaining, where we kind of that's our whole thing. We basically read manga every week together,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of kind of romance books and yaoi books that I found really fascinating, and a lot of the kind of the books and movies I tend to consume involve romance, and I haven't had much of a chance to do that yet with some of my series. So that's kind of the heart of it. I mean, there's also like the AI question in there. Um, that's kind of fun to play with. One of our characters is a human artist, and her struggles with AI and specifically kind of robots taking over jobs in creative industries. So there's some commentary in there. But at the heart of it, it's a romance story, and that's just super fun to get to do.
Yeah, totally. Well, speaking of manga splaining, I'll pivot to my question from that. After I read Gundam the Origin, I listened to your podcast episode on it, which is great. First question, this is a little selfish. Did you end up like reading or engaging with any Gundam after that first volume?
No.
Oh.
It wasn't quite my thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm grateful to the podcast for introducing me to a lot of things that I definitely wouldn't go out of my way to read. And there are a lot of things I can appreciate, like the Gundam stuff I can appreciate, but not enough for me to kind of continue on as a reader, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally fair.
Yeah.
Me on the
There's
other
so
hand.
much to read. There's so much to read. It's just like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
also
yeah.
the problem. Like I've got stacks by my bed, both virtual and physical, and like there are books that my friends have written that I need to read, books I have to read for research.
Yeah.
And then the books I want to read, and it's very rare to get to that third pile.
Totally, yeah. And for me, I got so hardcore into Gundam. I have like 2 Gundams I need to build still that are sitting there. The shelf in front of me is just filled. But something you guys mentioned on the podcast is how, like the way you do a war comic in American comics is so much different compared to a war comic in Japanese comics. And when I read like what you guys have had to say so far about Captain America, it almost feels like it's taking place, at least the first arc, during like a Cold War era. If I'm misreading it, then feel free to correct me. But it feels like it's being set around that time. So not necessarily, I guess, Gundam, but like, are you taking any inspirations from other things when you're writing Captain America? Like, how are you approaching it?
Yeah, I mean, the inspirations from history, really, like kind of leading up to this run. I started to read a lot of nonfiction just about American war and American imperialism and overthrows of governments, things like that. So there's a lot of kind of nonfiction reading that went into that, just to kind of get ready for Captain America. And you're not too far off in terms of like the period. It's basically Cap coming out of the ice. So it's him in the modern era, but obviously it's a few years ago, and him just kind of reckoning with the differences in the world in America and America's interactions with the rest of the world versus World War II.
Yeah. How does it feel to be writing Cap again? I mean, you did Invaders first, and then you did Twilight, which is a much older, different Captain America, and now you're doing modern Cap. So how's that evolution been for you?
I mean, it's awesome. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. I read a ton of his stuff when I was younger, and obviously followed him during, like, say, the Brubaker years and the more modern era. It's a great character. It's weird, being a Canadian so infatuated with Captain America, but there's something about him that just speaks to the good in everyone. And I just love that. Like, it's fun to write a noble character who's a little bit heartbroken at the state of things around him.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned being a Canadian and liking Captain America, what are your thoughts on Canadian superhero team Alpha Flight?
Don't care for them. It's not that I don't care for them. Like, I would read a few things when I was a kid, like when John Byrne like launched the series, and they were fine. For some reason, it never quite grabbed me. But it is funny because like all the other Canadian comic creators I know, they're all like, "Oh, I want to do an Alpha Flight series." I'm like, I don't. But I mean, that being said, if Marvel asked me to write one, I would go away and I would think about it, and if I had a good story, then I would do it, and I'd probably end up falling in love with the team. Like, that's usually how it goes with me in assignments. Like, I don't really, I have an affinity for characters. A lot of it kind of due to my nostalgia for them, but I really don't think about stories for them or whether or not I want to write the character until it's presented to me, and then like I go off and think about story.
Yeah, Yeah, that makes sense.
So maybe I have a puck. Maybe I have a puck story in me. I don't even know it.
Well, I guess speaking about invaders for a second, my friend told me to ask you this, and I also like it felt to about me that way to me as I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like Randall Peterson is almost like Namor's husband. Was that intended, or like is that something that just like comes off in the subtext?
It's subtext. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. I wish I could confirm that, but like, no, it's
No,
just subtext.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But from there to I didn't have much invaders questions, but brilliant series, loved it. Rip Butch guys, loved his stuff.
Oh yeah,
Beautiful
God,
stuff.
so good.
Yeah. Avengers Twilight. I know the fifth issue where they attacked the White House that came out right as
Yeah.
it happened in the real world. But like now reading
Yeah.
it in retrospect, it seems like a lot more real because a lot of things described continue to happen. How do you feel about
Yeah.
that in terms of its like lasting legacy now?
I mean, I feel part of me feels good in the sense that like I can kind of uh tap into the zeitgeist
Yeah.
before it actually kind of happens. I think I told somebody I feel like a comics Schiti Nostradamus, where sometimes the things I'm writing end up coming true. But yeah, so I mean, I feel good in the sense that I'm like, oh, okay, so you're still a modern relevant writer because you're writing stuff that ends up kind of happening. But also I feel bad because like
Yeah.
you never it's very rare that you write a good thing and the good thing comes true.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, totally. I guess from there, the question I had is, so as I was reading it, I thought it was like a really interesting critique of America as a whole,
Mm,
especially something that I don't think I would expect to get out of like a modern superhero comic. And then it came off a lot and it did like a lot of interesting things. But by the end, when, everything's all said and done and they seem kind of happy, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I
okay.
don't know, because it's like, when I think of America now, as I've become like more politically aware of things, and
Mm,
American imperialism and how America is like, or like United States of America specifically, is a country that exists because of imperialism.
yeah.
Stuff like, Captain America fighting for the American dream rubs me the wrong
Hmm.
way because what is the American dream really?
Hmm.
And so, like, how are you looking to tackle that in your run? Do you think like his whole ideology of fighting for the American dream is outdated? Or do you think like that's still something that is prominent and can be addressed?
Yeah, well, it's funny because Avengers Twilight was less about America and more about, I guess, all of kind of Western society and kind of by extension the world, and
Yeah.
it's kind of reliance on technology and um, control like of the media and just kind of blind trust in your government a little bit,
Yeah.
which is a thing that obviously extends beyond America. So yeah, by the end of that series, like you have to leave people with a bit of hope, I feel. And so
Right.
just the idea that like, take your wins.
Mm-hmm.
They beat up the Red Skull,
Yeah.
beat up a bunch of Nazis, and rescued democracy for another day. You kind of need some sort of happy ending, even though it's tinged with the idea that nothing is ever perfect. And that's the thing, nothing's ever perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like America will never be perfect or even maybe possibly good,
Right.
but also neither will any country.
Mm-hmm.
Like, um, like reading on the history stuff, like it wasn't just America.
Yeah.
There's a lot of every country's got some horrific things kind of in their past and their present. Yeah, America's definitely done wrong, but so has our country,
Yeah.
Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then reading about World War II, Japan does not get
Yeah.
off easily there.
Yeah.
Um, some really horrific things when you start to kind of dig into every country's history. So for Steve Rogers, like the dream is freedom. Like
Right.
that's the dream. The
Mm-hmm.
dream isn't like control of other countries or imperialism.
Yeah.
Like the dream has to be kind of individual liberty and freedom, and compassion. So, so that's the dream that he stands for. I think he's always stood for it in the comics. Like at no point would Steve Rogers be like, you know what, we need to take over this country, or that was a fine thing we did there.
Yeah.
Nicaragua, oh great, Grenada, whatever. Like that's just not him. Like he's supposed to represent the best in all of us. And I think America, looking at it from the outside, it's always been about the promise of greatness and freedom and liberty. And it's a thing that I think every country should aspire to, and every country comes up short. So
Right. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
You mentioned in your Substack that Marvel told you, like, you gave Marvel like 3 characters that you wanted to do. The first one was Daredevil, and then now it's Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
So, was it your decision to jump into Captain America, or like did they offer it to you and you were like, okay, I want to do Captain America as my next thing?
Well, Captain America and Daredevil, they offered it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I would never petition for a job because somebody is on that job, right?
Yeah.
So I would never state it publicly either. Like
Mhm.
when I answer that question, I answer that directly to editorial, who
Yeah.
asked kind of everyone that worked on books for them, what are your top 3, just so they know, just so they can keep it in mind when they come up. And so it was the same thing with Captain America. I got the email. I've had that email a couple of times, and in the past I couldn't take the job
Yeah.
because I was too overloaded with work, or it just didn't line up. But this time, they approached me. They're like, "Hey, we're the JMS run is going to be wrapping up in X number of months. Would you be free? Would you consider it?" And again, even though I said that's a title I'd be interested in, I still had to go away and think about it.
Yeah.
And make sure I had the story that I wanted to tell, because if I don't have that, then there's not a lot of point doing it, except for the paycheck, I suppose. But once you end up doing that, it's like, yeah, you might not be producing the best work.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you said the same thing for before Batman, where you had to like take some time to think about it if you went for it.
Yeah.
Are there any lessons you're taking from Daredevil and Batman coming into Captain America?
Oh, that's an interesting question. No, they all feel very different. I think the ethos is still the same, which is, tell the story you want to tell and protect it, and protect your artists, which I think is also super important. Like, make them feel a part of the process, because they are. And I was just thinking this morning, I was talking to somebody about Daredevil, and just how lucky I was with the artists on that, and the fact that Marco Cicchetto stayed with us through the whole run. Like, other editors tried to poach him, like, I know it. but he wanted to see that story through because it was his story as well. Same with Jorge on Batman, and yeah, I always want to make sure I've got like artists who want to do the job and artists who are up to the challenge. Frank, the colorist, who really elevates everything. You just want to do the best story you can. Like, I mean, I guess if there's one thing I kind of took away, like towards the end of my Daredevil run, I kind of realized like I got to make sure I'm just not online anymore. Really, like not on the social media sense, because there is a danger of you changing your story based on people talking.
Yeah.
And you don't really want that in your head, because you're going to end up with a watered down version of whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Art by committee is just not usually a good thing. And you can see it in like movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
When maybe there's too many chefs, or they're shifting things based on kind of audience reaction.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's the big thing. Just really think about the story, really focus on the story, and make sure it's what you want to tell, and don't get bogged down in the details.
Yeah, for sure. Before we go to Captain America question, how does it feel to pass the baton of Jorge to Matt Fraction?
Oh my God. It's awesome. It really is. Like, yeah, it's funny. I think there's other writers who I find it really hard to read the books after they leave them.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like seeing somebody with your girlfriend or boyfriend after you broke up. Um, but I haven't had that in any of my cases, and especially not with Batman um, because I love Jorge and I love Matt so much, and just the idea of them working together. Like I've basically seen all of issue one, and
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's just awesome. Like
Oh
Jorge just
yeah.
gets better and better, and like Matt's a very different writer than I am. Um, he's better. Like I'll state that. Like that's not even like false humility. Like he's so good at what he does, and I love how his mind works, and he's creating just like a really vibrant, fun comic, and and Jorge can match that on the page.
Yeah.
And I think after years of Jorge doing like, you know, well, James's version and then my version, which is a lot of like, brooding and dark and rain, and mine was pretty propulsive. Like it just never kind of let up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for him to keep working with Matt on
Yeah.
maybe not a lighter version, but like Matt said publicly, like it doesn't rain in his Gotham, and I think that's awesome. I think that's just a fun take on it.
Yeah. I personally hope you draw an issue for it. I think that would be
Mhm.
really cool. I would love to see you and Matt work together again.
Yeah, no, he wrote a comic, a Batman story that I drew a few years ago,
Yeah.
Detective 1027, which was like a lot of fun. And it's funny, like we're talking. No, I shouldn't actually scratch that. I can't get into details. But but yeah, I mean, it's funny. Years ago, Matt and I pitched a Batman comic to DC that he was going to write and I was going to draw, and it was just a ludicrous, fun version of Batman. Um, and there were enough editor changes, and I don't think they quite got what we were doing. That it just never happened, but it would have been so fun, and I still think about it. And I love Matt. I'd love to do something with him again. And if we could do like a Batman limited series together, I think that would be great.
Fingers crossed. I would buy every issue.
All
That's just
right,
me.
one one sale. All right, we're on our
Hell
way.
yeah. But how does it? But to go back to Captain America, this isn't your first
Mm,
time working with Valerio Schiti. You did
no,
Marvel 2-in-1 together. I also have that
mm,
same Spider-Man mug
it's
back
pretty
home.
good. Yeah,
Yeah. But this isn't your first time working with Valerio.
yeah.
How does it feel like to reunite with him again? And was he your first pick for the book?
Yeah, yeah. Like he was definitely the first because like I started talking to Marvel just about the kind of the style that I was going for with this, and they threw out a couple names. I was just like, well, no, that's not
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. And then once they threw out Valerio, I'm like, oh yeah, oh obviously, like Valerio's the best. Um, and like doing Marvel 2-in-1 with him was a revelation because I didn't really know his work before that. And every page, like the layouts, like the storytelling was just so pristine. Like he just got it. He got the emotion of what I was going for, and he still made it really dynamic. Yeah, he's just an all-around amazing kind of superhero artist, and kind of following his career since then, and just seeing how much he's leveled up.
Yeah.
And they keep putting on these giant books with like giant cast of characters, and
Yeah.
part of my thinking was like, oh, it'll just be so nice for him to just like focus on one.
Right. Yeah.
But also like that Marvel 2-in-1 run, Frank Martin was the colorist on those issues, and so I already kind of had a good sense of how they work together. And Frank
Yeah.
is another guy who's just gotten better and better. And because of the tone that we were going for, which is kind of more grounded, a darker, realistic tone, I knew I didn't want the kind of standard Marvel kind of shiny pop
Yeah.
color, and so Frank was just like he was the given, like he was the guy for the job, and
For
it looks
sure.
so good. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean the pages, not the pages, but like the concept art we've seen, it all looks gorgeous.
yeah,
Can't wait to see what the book looks like.
it's really nice. It's
Oh
very
yeah.
rare that I'm the guy who like at a party I pull up my phone and start showing people artwork. Like I find that very kind of annoying when other writers do that. But I've been doing that with these because I'm just like
Yeah.
everyone's got to see it. You're like, oh no, this is like a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
different level.
Totally. Do you know if you're going to be doing a signing for it in Toronto?
I don't have anything planned, mostly because I won't be in Toronto.
Right, yeah, you're
I'm
moving.
I'm going out west for a few months, so
Yeah.
I'll be in the woods when it hits.
Dang.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what are your favorite Captain America runs or depictions, like maybe stuff in like Avengers books or whatever? Stuff that you like, but also stuff that like you're maybe drawing inspiration from on some level for this
I
one.
mean the Brubaker run
Yeah.
is kind of I think that's the best kind of modern version of Cap. Um, I love a lot of Ta-Nehisi's run. Trying to think. I mean, I grew up reading the Grunwald stuff, so that's pretty major for me. Like that whole period, especially with Kieran Dwyer on art, with the
Yeah.
the kind of Captain America No More and John Walker kind of stepping in. That was a pretty big influence. So yeah, those are kind of the major ones. I got a soft spot for Civil War.
Sure,
I
fair
mean,
enough.
I mean, he's a badass in that. Like he's maybe a bit too dogmatic, but like, um, I was going through it recently for a project. It wasn't even this project, the Civil War, and I'm just like, oh my God, every page is just a banger. Like Steve McNiven on art, like it's so good, and Cap's such a badass in that. Like him busting out on that jet is just such a cool visual.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Whatever your feelings are about like who's on what side and if people are acting out of character, in quotes, it's still a really cool comic story.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
me, my favorite Captain America story from like the past decade is still Hickman and I believe Lionel Yu's Original Sin tie-in, where
Oh,
Captain
really?
America is like sent through time and it's just
Okay.
a Captain America exploration, and I love that. I love
Oh,
like
cool.
if I'm ever like thinking about like Captain America, I just go back and I read that and it's like, okay, this is why I love this character. But the
Yeah,
Brubaker
yeah,
stuff, obviously.
yeah. And
Great
Wade,
shout,
Wade,
Grunwald. Yeah.
yeah, Wade stuff is awesome, even though, it's Mark Wade, whatever. It's still pretty great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the '90s one obviously, but I always think about that era of like Mark Waid and Chris Samnee working together, Daredevil,
Yeah.
Black Widow, Captain America.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pretty solid team.
Yeah. Um, we've touched upon this lightly, but to you specifically, like what is Captain America, both as a character and as like the wider mythos? What is that representative to you?
Oh my God, big question. Um, he represents the good in people. I mean, kind of more than any other character, I think.
Yeah.
Because he's powered, but he's not like super powered. Like I think people can see him as kind of Marvel's version of Superman, and that's true. But there's a bit more heartbreaking in Captain America, I think, because of everything he's lost. Superman lost Krypton, big deal. He was a goddamn baby. Like get over it. Whereas Cap lost friends and family, and was a result of a war. Like there's an inherent sadness there, and out of so many kind of Marvel and DC characters, Captain America was the one confronted with probably the most horrific evils of humanity, and yet
Right.
still manages to maintain his outlook that people are inherently good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that's a really special thing. Um, and also just I'm always fascinated with the man out of time stuff, which is
Yeah.
kind of why I wanted to like start off this arc with him just out of the ice. Like the feeling, the idea of him getting used to a new world is really fascinating to me, and because it's one of those things where like if you have parents and you're out of step with your parents a little bit because they're from an older generation,
Yeah.
and once in a while like they'll progress, which is great. They kind of catch up to you. Steve Rogers is that, right? Like it's like him having to get used to the new world and like get used to how things and dynamics have changed, and it ends up giving you kind of a fresh take on the world we live in to see it through his eyes. So yeah.
Yeah. What
It's
are
funny,
your
like in my answer, I don't really talk much about America because I think America is kind of secondary, really,
Yeah.
to that. Like, he's Captain America because he was Captain America during a time when they needed that symbol to fight
Yeah.
Hitler and the Nazis, and now it's like, okay, I'm Captain America, but I'm representing the people. And
Hmm.
I'm trying to do good by the people, and and save as many as I can.
Yeah. I mean, my hot take has been in the present day. I mean, obviously Captain America can't be Nomad because of the brand,
Hmm.
but I think he should be Nomad. Because
Yeah.
if he's representing the people, then he shouldn't represent like America in his like costume and the flag. But you
I
know,
mean, it's a big question in our title as well. Like, what does Captain America look like to the rest of the world?
yeah,
Because that's the thing, right? Like, I think in his heart he believes like the American project is like the most important kind of project over the last couple hundred years.
yeah,
Um, and the world has kind of borne that out because of its effect on the world. Uh, even even now, like for better or ill, like even though people are trying to change it, like everyone's currency is based on the U.S. dollar. Like
hmm,
that's wild, right? Like
yeah,
America is the one people go to, and they have to have talks about like what to do with the world,
hmm,
um, which is kind of fascinating. Like that
yeah,
kind of hold post World War II has not evaporated. Um, so yeah, so America is still like an extremely relevant country for good or ill, and so trying to be the good person representing America, I think is important in a way. Like I get the
yeah,
nomad thing, but also it's like, okay, let's turn this around. Let's right this ship and like show the world that America can be better than it is.
yeah, for sure. Uh, well, I noticed this right before the interview that it's interesting that like Marvel Comics, the American publication company's biggest characters are being written by Canadians. You're doing Captain America, Jed McKay's doing
Yeah,
Avengers and
yeah,
X-Men,
yeah.
Ryan North's doing Fantastic Four,
I
and
know
yeah, and and like the things so like how like
the event.
yeah, it's cool. I guess it seems fun.
It is. It's weird, and like we talk amongst ourselves as to why that's happened, and I think there's a few reasons. One, and this is just very base bottom line kind of stuff between myself and let's say Ryan and Jed, we're generally nice guys, and we're easy to work with
Yeah.
and diligent. Like, I can't speak for Ryan and Jed, so their reasons, but like I'm not late with scripts because I am an artist, and
Yeah.
so I know what it's like to sit there waiting for a script, knowing every day means you're not getting paid. Like that's it's a thing in the industry that makes me legitimately angry.
Yeah.
How many writers don't seem to care about the deadlines and just think it's fine to be a week or 2 weeks late with a script, or even editors. There are editors who will just sit on a script and not
Yeah.
reading it and get it to an artist, and that should be priority number one.
Yeah.
Especially in an industry that does not pay that well. Like, like if you go a week or two without drawing, that you go a week or
Yeah.
two without making your mortgage. Like
Hmm.
it's wild to me. So I mean, I know Ryan is very ahead on scripts. Like
Yeah.
he's just that guy. He's like Jeff Lemire is another one. Like very ahead on scripts. I'm usually pretty ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know how far ahead Jed is. Probably not as ahead because he's doing X-Men and Avengers. But I think that's a lot of it. Like, um, they say, in any freelance industry, I forget the exact saying, but you have to be like two of three things. You have to be like good to work with, like slash nice. You
Yeah.
have to be fast. You have to be really good at the job.
Hmm.
Uh, and if you have two of three of those, you'll probably be okay, right?
Yeah.
And so I can't really speak to the quality of my work, but I do think I'm good / easy to work with, and I do my stuff on time, which I think helps. And I think a lot of Canadians in the industry are similar.
I mean, I've never talked to Jed, but I got to talk to Dev Malia Pramanik, who's drawing Moon Knight.
Mhm.
And he had like the nicest things to say about Jed and
Yeah,
how like ahead he is and like he's catching up with the drawings, and that's always cool.
yeah.
Yeah, to go back to Captain America. So we talked about what Captain America is to you. What are your favorite parts of the mythos? Like, who are your favorite side characters, stories?
I mean, obviously Bucky. Yeah, I'm a fan of the
Yeah.
Brubaker run, like that
Mm-hmm.
that progress from Bucky to Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of number one for me. Um, just kind of the other heroes around him too. Like I think some of my favorite Cap stories and moments are his interactions with Tony Stark or Peter Parker or
Yeah.
Thor. He's a good character to bounce other characters off of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Red Skull as a villain is always. I'm doing my best to not go to Red Skull as a default villain because every
Yeah.
run kind of ends up being a Red Skull story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not making promises, but like my vow to myself is to avoid using Red Skull as my villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those are the big ones. Like Sam Wilson is awesome. I just finished reading Evan and Greg's series,
Yeah.
and that's really great. Yeah, like I've got Sam definitely popping up in the modern day versions because I feel like he's a really solid character to bounce off of Steve. I've got Sharon in there too. Like
Hell yeah.
Sharon is awesome because I like the fact that she's not as pure as Steve, and I think there's conflict there, right? Like her
Yeah.
methods are not his methods.
Yeah.
So I get to explore that, which is fun. Yeah.
Yeah. That was the fun part about the 90s Wade run, where they had like that clash because they're both like operating on like different levels, but they're both clearly in love with each other.
Yeah.
That's always
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, do you have some idea of like how long you want to do this for?
I don't want to give a number,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
just because you're setting yourself up a little bit for failure if you don't hit
Mm-hmm.
it. It also just kind of gives away too much, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on it till I'm done, which is
Okay.
a very
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
very
that's fair.
sneaky way of saying it. But like, I got a story I want to tell, and much like with Daredevil, like Daredevil, I had the whole story, but there were things that kind of popped up while I was writing it where I went, oh, that's interesting, and then it expanded parts,
Yeah.
or added things to it, or even just like kind of blew up into an event at one point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Devil's Reign was just kind of part of the Daredevil story, and then when Marvel's like, "Oh, that's really cool. That could be an event. Let's do that." I'm like, "Oh,"
Yeah.
and it made me rethink it. So it's kind of the same here because it also depends on what happens in other books. Because Captain America, he's an Avenger, and
Mm-hmm.
if there's any kind of big thing happening, he's got to be involved. So you always have to kind of consider that. There's a bit more of a Batman
Yeah.
thing with Captain America than there would be for Daredevil. Like
Yeah.
Daredevil, he pops up nowhere. He's
Yeah.
great. He's a fantastic character to write because you kind of have carte blanche for as long as you're around him. Batman, obviously, there's an event that comes up, Batman's in it.
Yeah.
There's, every second title of DC has Batman in it, so you got to think about that. And Cap's like that to a lesser degree. So,
Right.
that might affect the story as well.
Mm-hmm. So, what does it feel like to return to Marvel after working at DC for the past 2 years? Because I remember you talking about how like you had to go to the retreats and you couldn't say anything because you knew things about like both companies. So now like has that changed?
Yeah, so I mean with the retreats I just didn't go to the retreats. Like they would
Yeah.
invite me at Marvel and I'd be like I can't because like I know too much about what's happening in
Yeah.
DC. And it felt like that had to be my home for the period I was working on Batman. So it's a bittersweet thing because like I love Marvel and I love the people there and I really love that room. Like going to the retreats is a lot of
Yeah.
fun. Fun creators, fun editors, fun assistant editors, like everything. There's a real family feeling at Marvel for
Yeah.
good and ill
Mm-hmm.
because like The good is like it feels like family, right?
Yeah.
Like you hang out, you get drink, you cry, you laugh. Like it's really a lovely time. But the downside to that is when someone has to fire you, you're just like, but you're my family. I think a lot of people when they leave Marvel, they feel a certain sense of betrayal because you do kind of have strong feelings about the people that work there and the characters and the company. Um, so that can have a negative when you're kind of on your way out the door, which everyone is at some point.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy to be back because like obviously I left on good terms. I just kind of like ran out my stories and finished my Daredevil, and I'm doing Batman stuff, and I said no to Marvel stuff because I can't do it.
Yeah.
And there were never hard feelings. Like Marvel wanted me back, and I was like, sure. I mean, I've got 20 more issues of Batman. Like we'll talk later.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice to be back, but also at the same time, while I was at DC, I really grew close to editors there. Like like Ben Abernathy, my main Batman editor, he left 3/4 through my run because he got a job at Skybound, and that was really sad because we got along super well. And then the new guy, Rob, by the time we just kind of got used to each other and our rhythms, and I'm just like, oh, he's great. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta leave. That sucks. But beyond them, like the editor-in-chief, Marie, love her. Like she is so fun, so down to earth, smart and funny. I'm not just saying that because she was my boss. Like she's just like one of the most genuine people in comics, and she understands every level of it because she was a colorist at Marvel. Like she's a
I didn't know
colorist and
that.
an editor, and yeah, and it's funny. I just finished reading one of her travel books, in which she basically kind of left Marvel in like early 2000 or whatever, and decided to like travel the world. And she's a really fascinating person, and like I'm still kind of talking to them about doing things. We got a couple little projects, kind of cooking, um, and then it's very direct with Marie because like I said, she's my favorite person, and she's like the easiest person to talk to in comics.
Yeah. Speaking of Marvel and DC, you said like last year that you were considered to write Ultimate Spider-Man, and then you told Hickman that he should take the job. And I know like
Yeah.
the
Well,
question about
I didn't tell Hickman directly. I told my editor, Will, that Hickman should write it.
Yeah.
John doesn't talk to me directly, obviously.
Are you too cool for John?
Yeah, sure. That's got to be it. No, I
But
mean, I did have a call with him after he started working on it,
yeah.
and he, I forget if he thanked me for saying no to it because he was actually having a lot of fun on it.
Yeah.
So obviously it worked out well for literally everyone except for me.
But the question I'm about to ask might be the comics equivalent to asking like a popular actor if they want to play a superhero. But like, are you interested in doing like an Ultimate or an Absolute book?
Again, it depends on the title. Like,
Right.
like I was offered when Scott was kicking around Absolute stuff, we'd be on phone calls, and at one point he asked me if I was interested in writing Absolute Batman.
Right.
I said, well, I'm writing Batman. Like, I don't think that makes a lot of sense, even from a marketing standpoint. Like, and like everyone he talked to, we all knew the same thing. We're all just like, he's gonna write it. Like he's just pretending like he's not gonna write it. Or I'm sure he believed he wasn't gonna write it, but I think deep down we all knew like, no, this is the book that he should come back to Batman on. So really, I turned down Absolute Batman and Ultimate Spider-Man. So I somehow just hate money. But I mean, those books would not have been as big successes if I was writing them. Like I think Scott really somehow even leveled up even more doing Absolute Batman. I think with that kind of like freedom, and getting kind of Hickman's take on Spider-Man is awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people are really drawn to that title. So it's always a case by case. Like if they came to me tomorrow and said like, do you want to do Absolute Plastic Man? And if I had an idea, I'd say yes. And if you want to do Ultimate Howard the Duck,
Yeah.
and you have an idea for it and it works, and then I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd rather write Ultimate Howard the Duck with a really strong idea than write Ultimate Spider-Man just because it's Ultimate Spider-Man,
Yeah, I mean, I was about to say you doing Ultimate Howard the Duck could be your equivalent of Scott Snyder doing Absolute Batman.
Probably the same amount of sales.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, do I have any other questions? Oh yeah. So I mean, like, from my understanding of your timeline, because I follow your newsletter or whatever, it's like
Mhm.
you were in the forest, you came back to
Mhm.
Toronto, and then you did a bunch of signings and tours, and now you're leaving again. That,
Mhm.
like, to me, that sounds like incredibly hectic. How do you deal with that? What's that balance?
Um, I mean, signing the tours are fun. The big thing is just the workload, but I'm really diligent when it comes to the workload. Like,
Yeah.
I'm usually at my desk writing by 5:30 or 6 in the morning. Like I'm just like
Hmm.
I'm that guy. I like to shut everything off and just focus on the writing. And I don't overdo it. I give myself usually 3 straight hours, but that's all I do, and then I can handle all the other stuff kind of around it. And then Zdarsky Comic News, which takes up a fair amount of time, more than I anticipated. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I've got a pretty. I mean, maybe my friends and my family would disagree, but I've got a pretty healthy life work balance. I'm usually done 5 or 6 and in
Yeah.
the house making dinner and uh, going out with buddies and having a regular life. It's funny. I remember one call I had with Scott where he was Scott and he was like kind of going on about some stuff um, and I interrupted him and I said, Scott, the difference between you and me is I stop thinking about comics after 5 p.m. Like, cause he's always on, like he's always thinking. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the genius of Scott, right? Like, I don't think he's ever not working. Like,
Hmm.
even if he's with his family and doing other stuff, I think in the back of his brain, like Batman stories are kind of hatching. Whereas with me, I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I'm done for the day. I pack things up, I close my laptop, and I go do kind of anything other than comics, really.
Yeah. Do you lock this room up? Because, like, this seems like your
Yeah,
workspace.
yeah. No, it's like totally separate from the house too, so that helps.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of one of the things. Like years ago when we were, making the jump from apartment to a house, I was terrified because, mortgage and commitment. But my one stipulation was I needed a space that was separate from the house.
Right.
So so this is like a converted garage that I turned into a proper studio. I kind of built it with my dad and my brother, so it means a lot. And yeah. So my commute to work is 30 seconds because I just got to walk across the backyard. But I think it makes a huge difference that at the end of the day, I can actually like walk out of this room, lock it, and that's it. Like there's nothing
Yeah.
in the house
I mean, that sounds like
that,
reasonably healthy.
yeah, it
Yeah.
feels it. And there's nothing in the house really about comics. Like weirdly, like my Eisner Awards and stuff are in there.
Yeah.
And I feel slightly embarrassed about that. And I was saying to my wife the other day, I'm like, I should just put those in a closet somewhere or just get rid of them. I don't know. Like it just feels weird even having them in the house. Um, yeah, yeah. So there's a good split there, I think.
Yeah. I guess to end it, two questions. One, are there any spots in Toronto that you're gonna miss when you go back to the forest?
Oh man, yeah. The one thing about the forest is you got to make your own food because you're in the forest. Like,
Yeah.
so I just miss all the restaurants. I can't even narrow it down to like one or two because it's just all the restaurants. When I'm in the woods, yeah, there's really not a lot. Um, so that's the big thing. Movie theaters, miss those as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, people, my friends. I enjoy kind of living in the woods. It's nice, it's calm.
Yeah.
Uh, really allows you to focus. And there is a kind of a small community where we go,
Yeah.
which is quite lovely. And the big difference between like the city and like kind of Vancouver Island life or whatever
Hmm.
is nobody there asks you what you do for a living, which
Yeah.
is actually really nice. Like in Toronto, it's kind of all about career, and
Yeah.
I find in the smaller communities, it's more just about who you are and like what are you doing with your spare time? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, how you surviving,
Hmm.
which I like.
Yeah. It must be extra nice to, like, not have anybody ask you about comics over there.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny. I hang out on the beach with this crew of old ladies, and and they know what I do for a living. Once in a while, they'll suggest like really outlandish Batman stories, and it's very fun getting Batman stories from a 70-year-old.
Is there a good one you can share?
No. I mean,
No.
a lot of them are just about like just basically island versions of Batman, which is fun.
Yeah. Speaking of your favorite Toronto spots, my favorite Japanese place I used to go to shut down the other week. I was like,
Ooh,
damn.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They had like, it's called Sakawa. It was on the green subway line by Donlands. They had an incredible chicken katsu curry. I loved it. I used to go there like once a month, but
oh man, I'm sorry. That is always heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one nice thing about leaving Toronto for long periods and coming back is there's usually new things for me to try. But there's also the sad part of like things I love disappearing.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, to end it off, are we getting more chip class anytime soon?
You're not getting chip class, but you are getting something in the spirit of chip class.
Okay.
Yeah, myself and some friends, we just shot the first video of hopefully a 6-episode series. We got to figure it out over the summer, see how the first one turns out, and then do some more. I want to do more video stuff. I was looking for a space here in Toronto to actually rent and set up a proper kind of YouTube studio. But as my wife pointed out, she's like, we're moving to the woods. What are you doing? So I got to figure that out when I get back.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for being on. Captain America is in July?
Yeah, July 2nd.
Yeah. And then White House Robot Romance comes out.
We don't know. Nobody knows.
Oh, we don't know? Okay.
No. We're figuring out what date that's actually going to hit. So hopefully by late summer. But
yeah,
don't hold me to that.
Well, whenever it is, super exciting. Once again, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, of course.
DSTLRY.